quite literally this was a situation of a guy like having 2 girlfriends at once, and I do not know how he got away with it.
What the finch?
All right, hello. So today's kind of a boring day. So for this vlog, I decided I was gonna tell you guys a story that basically all my friends for so long have been like, Adrienne, you have to make a video about this. Actually, I have so many stories of things that have happened in my life, mostly in my like dating and relationships life, that people are like, you literally need to tell this story on camera. And I don't know why I just haven't, because I'm like, I don't know. It's embarrassing kind of. So anyway, here I am. I'm gonna tell the story, a little story time for you of how I caught my ex-boyfriend cheating on me, and how we did this whole stakeout, and it was just this crazy situation. For starters, I do want to say this happened a long time ago, so I'm completely over it, and there are no hard feelings, honestly, with the person, and I'm not gonna say the person's actual name. We're gonna call him Chad, because Chad is just a really grade A douchey name. And I was watching this girl's video yesterday where she was telling the story of how she caught her ex-husband cheating on her, and literally at the start she's like, what should I call him? And she googled most douchey like white boy name, and I was just thinking Chad, and then the #1 name was Chad. So we're gonna call him Chad. Sorry to all the Chads out there. Not saying you all are douches. So this was actually in high school. I had just gotten out of like a 2-year relationship with this guy, and I played soccer, and one of the guys that used to hang around like the soccer team, he was a little bit older, so he wasn't in high school anymore, but I knew who he was because my community was very small. Everyone kind of knew who each other was no matter what age you were. So he was older. I had always kind of known who he was, and he would hang around the soccer field all the time and like practice with the boys team, and I would practice with the boys team too sometimes. And so I just kind of like got to know him, and somehow we ended up flirting it up and basically hanging out, and he was the one very much pursuing me. He was like super into me, and he's like, I like you so much, blah blah blah. We would hang out one-on-one, and I don't really know, I was young and I was just like, oh my god, he's giving me attention. And I mean, he was fun and nice, like we got along really well. Also, it's high school, so I don't have to sneak around. Like I could hang out with him, but obviously if we're gonna be intimate or drink alcohol or do anything like that, we kind of had to sneak around. Like I had to, at least. This was like during the summer when this all started, this whole thing. This is what we would do. For context, you just have to know like the nature of our relationship, okay? All we would do when we hang out is basically, he'd pick me up in his car and we would go to the gas station or like some local convenience store, get 4 Locos, which if you guys remember, if anyone remembers the OG 4 Locos before they got banned because of the caffeine and it was like killing people, we used to drink those. So like 1 can of 4 Loko, which was this big, would literally get me so hammered. And they cost like literally $2.50. Like that's how you know that this should not be legal, is it's like $2 and you're just gonna be so hammered from 1 can. So literally our, I kid you not, nightly routine was for him to pick me up, pick up some 4 Locos, and then we would drive to one of our many spots where we would just loiter. Our main spot was this movie theater underground parking garage. So there's this movie theater, we'd go into the garage, we'd go down to the 4th level into this corner. It was like our same spot every single time, and we would just drink the 4 Locos until we were like super drunk. And then we would literally go see a movie, and half the time I would fall asleep during the movie, and the other half we would watch it, and then we'd come back and like hang out. That is just wrong on so many levels. First of all, he would drive us there, meaning he would drive us back, which is just so bad. Like literally, I hope no one ever drinks and drives, or even remotely like gets in the car with someone who does. So dangerous, so illegal, do not do it. So that was just #1 thing. The second thing was like literally drinking in public in a parking garage, also not legal. And then the other thing is like, how did we not die? First of all, we were doing this every single night. I kid you not. One time we did it like 14 days in a row. It was bad. Okay, we actually talked recently and we were like, literally, how did we not die? Because people were dying from this 4 Loko, because this was all before they banned these, right? Okay, anyway, the other places that we would often hang out and like loiter were grocery store parking lots. There was this one park we liked to go to. Basically anywhere in public that we could just like hang out and chill, because it was kind of hard to like hang out at our houses because, you know, it was just a weird thing with parents, and I don't know. We had our little places, and at that grocery store where we would hang in the parking lot, some of the grocery store employees would know us because we would come in so often. They would like know who we were. All right, okay, so let me just talk a little bit about like the sketchiness of this relationship in general. There were so many red flags that he was just being sketchy, and I feel like when you're young and you haven't experienced many relationships, you don't really know what to look for. You're just kind of extra jealous about everything. I feel like I was just very jealous, and he was very jealous. Like we were super protective because we didn't really know how to like trust each other at that age. But these are the things right off the bat that were red flags that I'm gonna tell you right now are not normal. #1, he would not save anybody's numbers in his phone. So like when he was texting, his whole list of messages would just be phone numbers. So that's just sketchy in itself, because I feel like if you're not saving your numbers, you obviously don't want me to like glance over and see that you're texting someone that I wouldn't want you to be texting. I don't know. The second thing was he would make the font on his phone like literally minuscule. He had some random phone. I don't think, this was like pre-iPhones maybe. His text would be literally so small that like even if I looked over, even if he was right here, I wouldn't be able to read it. I would just see numbers and like faint words. It was so small. So that was really sketchy. The third really sketchy thing is just that when we weren't hanging out and I was trying to get in touch with him, there would be times when he literally wouldn't respond to me for like 8 hours. And I just feel like when you're in high school and you're young and you really have nothing else to do with your lives besides like text and call each other. So we would text so much. Now if I'm in a relationship, it's like not weird if someone doesn't respond all day. Obviously we have work and we're like busy, and you know, usually they'd be like, hey, can't talk. And by the way, we were dating at this point. Like we were fully dating in a relationship. He was the one who wanted to date, and so I was like, great. Calling him my boyfriend. He met my parents. He was my boyfriend. In that stage of a relationship, if you're not responding to someone for like 8 hours, sometimes overnight into the next day, and I was like crazy back then, obviously super immature and super protective, so I would literally text him 100 times and be like, dude, where are you? This is being so weird. And then afterwards, when he would come back, he would just be like, oh, sorry, I was with my family, like blah, blah, blah. And he'd say all this stuff. And I can't remember all the specific details, but things were definitely sketchy a couple times. Like there were times when he's like, I'm at my dad's, and I'd be like, what? That doesn't make sense. Oh, I'm with family. Like, oh, I can't talk right now. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And he would just like go off the radar. Okay. That was not normal. That was so sketch. I don't even know. I think that I started thinking that something was up. I think I thought he was a liar, but he was the type of person that was like so manipulative. He would always make it seem like he was super, super innocent, which is so interesting to me. Like now I go back and I analyze, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Once it started getting really sketchy, these are kind of the chain of events of how this all unfolded. It was my homecoming, my senior year homecoming, and like he didn't want to go because he's just older and he was just not really trying to go. So I was gonna go with a guy friend. So literally I just asked, or I got asked by like one of my complete guy friends, like no romantic relationship at all. I went to homecoming, and the whole night my boyfriend Chad was like texting me saying he was jealous and saying he was sad and like wished he could be there, and he was just like in this terrible mood, which I understand, but also we were young, so clearly duh, he was like jealous, which I didn't find weird at all. I thought like that's normal, he's my boyfriend, like he's sad, right? Come to find out later he was with this girl, but okay. Anyway, this is how I found out that he was actually cheating on me. I think that I had a feeling that he was, but I just was in denial. I just didn't really want to admit it or accept it. But here's what happened. One day, it was after school, I got home and I called him because I wanted to see if he would hang out, and he was like not answering. And mind you, the day before he'd come over to my house, we hung out, and then he left, and then he like hadn't been talking to me. It was one of those times when he just like went off the radar. So the next day I'm like, hello, wanna hang, what's going on? And then I get a call, okay? And I get a call from a random number from my hometown, and I answer the phone, and it's this girl. She's like, Adrienne? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, hi, I'll say that her name is Sally. Hi, it's Sally. And my heart just stops. Here's why. Sally was Chad's ex-boyfriend from right before we met. So basically, Sally and Chad were dating for like 2 years. And then me and this other guy were dating for like 2 years. And we apparently broke up at the same time. Well, at least I broke up with my boyfriend. For sure, it happened. I still to this day don't fully know. Did they officially break up? Did they not? I don't really know, but I knew who this girl was. So she calls me, and immediately my heart just sank because I knew like something was up. I had kind of been suspicious, but also like why on earth ever would she be calling me? We were not friends. We did not hang out. So she just calls me, and I'm like, oh my God. And she's like, I need to talk to you like right now. I need to ask you something. Have you hung out with Chad recently? And I said, yes. And she said, when's the last time you guys hung out? And I said, yesterday, he came over. And she was like, oh my God. And I was like, what? And I was like, wait, oh my God, what? And she's like, he just left my house, but he was like being super sketchy and blah, blah, blah. And literally, I just knew. I was just, in that moment, like, I don't even know how to explain how I was feeling. My stomach just dropped because she sounded exactly like I should have sounded. She sounded like they were dating and she was sketched out by him. And I was over here thinking like we're dating and I'm sketched out by her. So the way that she was talking made it seem like he was lying to her about me. And so quite literally this was a situation of a guy like having 2 girlfriends at once, and I do not know how he got away with it. I'm honestly impressed. I'm sitting here like, How did he get away with that? Especially because we are from the same small community. You run into people everywhere you go. So if we were hanging out in public a ton, I bet they were too, but I'll get to that. So basically I said, can you get a hold of him now? And she said, no. Can you? And I said, no. She said, here's what we're gonna do. Let's meet up and let's talk about this, because this would make so much sense. Like, are you guys dating? And I said, yeah, I thought we were. And she was like, oh my God. So we decided to meet up. She was gonna come pick me up, and we were like dressed in all black. I was gonna get in her car. We were gonna go somewhere and like talk for a minute. Then we were gonna literally go find this mofo and like do a full-blown stakeout. So the plan was that we were gonna talk, and then we were gonna drive first to his house. If he wasn't there, then we were gonna drive to like all the spots that we know that he could be. So his dad's house, this movie theater, the grocery store parking lot, because it turned out we had the same hangout spots. What? Okay, so we met up and I get in her car, and first of all, literally, by the way, this is all awful. Like, it's my worst nightmare coming true. It's one thing to like break up with someone. Breakups are terrible. It's another thing to be completely blindsided, realize that someone has been cheating with their ex the entire relationship, and then they just go off the radar and never apologize, never like. So it was awful. So we meet up and we're like talking about this, and I basically tell her, yeah, so this is when we met and we started hanging out, and then he asked me to be his girlfriend, and then we started dating. We hung out all these times, but there were like all these weird times that it felt kind of sketchy, or he would like not respond for like days. And she basically said, okay, so we dated and then we like broke up, but we nothing changed. We like kept hanging out. So I kind of thought we were together again. He said he never mentioned me. He mentioned that we were like friends, but he never said I'm dating her, I like her, like nothing. I was just not in the picture, which is so sketchy. And again, I'm just like so impressed that he somehow managed to keep these lies straight and not get caught by each other or anyone. Like, how do you do that? We were starting to piece all these things together. Like, she said, yeah, I was wondering why the grocery store clerk kept laughing at me, at us, like when we would go in. And now it makes sense, because that poor freaking employee probably had a field day every time they saw Chad with her, and then like the next day with me, and being all coupley and holding hands and like kissing and stuff. What? Okay. And then the homecoming thing. She was hanging out with him the night that I went to homecoming, and she said that he was being so mopey. He was all sad. He was like in a terrible mood. He was actually legitimately upset. She's like, now that makes sense. Like, he actually was upset that you were at homecoming without him. What the heck? Because we started really thinking, we were like, well, did he even like me or her or either of us, or was he just pretending? But honestly, you guys, I genuinely think that he liked both of us, and so he actually felt those feelings of jealousy and like sadness that night that I went to homecoming. But he like wasn't willing to let her go, clearly. And I think the weirdest part is just being able to lie for that long of a period of time. I feel like once you lie for that long, you just start believing your own lies. I think that that's literally what a sociopath or someone with sociopathic tendencies does. You literally can manipulate anyone's emotions, and you're almost like lying to yourself, or a pathological liar. I don't know what he is. He could be a sociopath, he could be a pathological liar. I don't really know. But I feel like to be able to lie and keep those stories straight and not get caught is just an incredible skill. I mean, I would never want that skill, and I would hope no one else would, you know, do that to me or anyone, but it was just insane. So we started piecing all these things together, and it made so much sense. All of a sudden, all these times that I was sketched out, he was with her. All these times she was sketched out, he was with me. So we just kind of felt dumb, and we also were both like obviously very, very upset. So I got in our car, we decided to go to his house. So what I did is I got into the back seat and like ducked down. So the plan was to go to his house. She was gonna ring the doorbell, tell him to come in the car, and then I was literally just gonna like pop up and be like, surprise, bitch. Obviously you're caught, like we know. Because that would catch him by surprise so much. Like, he thinks he's getting away with this, and then all of a sudden we're together. Like, that was about to be a stakeout out of a freaking movie. So we drive to his house, we pull up, she goes in, and he's not home. Classic, and we were super upset about it. But the worst part, his mom opened the door, and so she told her what had happened, like what we found out and like what has been going on. And his mom was literally defending him. She was like, well, you guys should have known. Like, you should have known that he was doing that. Like, how did you not know? Are you kidding me? If that was my mom and I was doing that to someone, she'd be like, Adrienne, you idiot. Like, get your life together. This mom was like fully defending him and was also basically calling us stupid for like falling for it, which is just so inappropriate. Whatever though. He started calling both of us. Sorry, right before we got to his house, he was calling both of us, and neither of us were answering. And so we think that he like caught wind that we were together, or that something was off, because neither of us were answering. And I bet his mom like told him that we showed up at his house. So he basically fled fled. Wherever he was, he freaking fled, because we ended up going to that grocery store, we went to the movie theater, we went to his dad's house, we went to our high school, we went literally everywhere we thought he could be, and he was nowhere to be found, and he was not answering any calls or texts, which was super tough and honestly super unsatisfying. I wish I had a way better stakeout story for you, but we tried, which was fun in itself. So then basically what happened after that is we went to like Red Robin or Johnny Rockets or something, got milkshakes because we were sad, and then her and I were kind of chatting, and this is where I feel like I was being the strong one. This sucked, and she was 2 years older than me, but I was sitting there and I was like, Sally, do not go back to him. Like, he's going to come beg for you back. He's gonna beg for forgiveness like his little manipulative self does. And I was like, you are better than that. You are so cool. You're such a good person. Do not go back to him. He does not deserve that. Don't do it. Like, you deserve so much better, and you're just gonna let him keep doing this over and over. Like, if it wasn't me, it would have been someone else. I said this to her because I felt like she was a little bit more weak. Like, I felt like she would go back to him, and they had actually like a long history. Like, they had been dating for a long time. So I was like, girl, don't. I said, I am never gonna, like, ever gonna get involved with him again. Like, he is such a piece of crap. Like, no. And she was saying that day, she's like, yeah, no, you're totally right. We have to not. And we basically made a vow. We were like, let's make a pact. We are not getting back together with him. We are not gonna give him the time of day. This is done. We're upset. No. So we made that pact, and then honestly, I feel like she went back to him. I don't have confirmation of that, but I think she did, because she stopped responding to me after a certain point in time, and we were supposed to kind of like be there for each other, like helping each other work through it, because for once it was like the girls teaming up against the guy, versus I feel like sometimes with cheating situations or with like a boyfriend or girlfriend lying to the other person, it's super easy to blame the person who they're cheating with. Like, oh, well, screw that girl, like I hate that girl, when really it's like the person you're with's fault, you know? And I always feel so bad when that happens. Like, obviously it takes two to tango, and if the person knew they were in a relationship, that's shady, but at the end of the day, it's the person who you're with that you're supposed to trust, and who's supposed to, you know, give you the truth and be honest with you. So I thought it was cool that her and I kind of teamed up against him. I don't know what she ended up doing with him or not. After all this happened, it was so hard to move on, just because he never gave me the satisfaction of an apology. He never talked to me about it at all. He literally just ghosted me, and we were done. So imagine going from like someone being your best friend, hanging out, talking all the time, to the next day you realize they were cheating on you the whole time. You're broken up, obviously, and they will just literally not speak to you. They will not explain anything. They will not say how they were thinking. They will not apologize. That was the most dissatisfying thing in the whole entire world. All I wanted was an apology. It made me every single day just replay like every time we had hung out, everything I'd ever said. It made me wish that I'd said more, done more, because that's just classic, you know? And one day I just kind of had to move on and get over it and accept that people don't always give you what you want in that regard. People don't always, you know, give you an apology or explain, and sometimes you just have to be okay with that, and you just have to like let it go. So that was like literally the worst thing in a relationship that had ever happened to me, and it sucked. It sucked so much. It took me so long to get over it, but I will say, here we are now, however many years later. I'm weirdly glad that happened to me, because first of all, it just showed me people aren't loving and loyal all the time, and that's actually number 5 out of this book called 5 Things We Cannot Change. The number 5th one is like, people are not always loving and loyal, and if you can accept that and just know that that's true, you'll just be happier. Because if you keep trying to like fix people and change people and like, no, there's no way they would do that to me, then you're just gonna be unhappy, because the truth is sometimes people do that. And so I think that whole situation just really taught me, first of all, pay attention to red flags. Second of all, people are capable of doing that, and they're capable of lying to you every single day in your face and saying I love you, but then lying to your face. It is possible. So that's crazy. Yeah, years later, I'm like happy I went through that, because it was so hard, and it showed me I can get through something like that, you know? It just showed me what people are capable of, and it showed me how to be strong and, you know, stand up for what I should be getting from a guy and whatever else. So that was my story of how I caught my ex cheating on me. And the funniest part is like, so after that all happened, we literally didn't speak for 10 years. Well, we probably exchanged like 2 texts, and it was about our mutual friend getting married, but that was like years after. And then we actually just recently reconnected, and I just thought it was funny because I was thinking about him since I was telling people this story, and someone had asked me if I'd ever gotten cheated on, so I was telling the story and it made me think of him. We actually started texting. I would never go there, by the way, you guys. I would literally never go there. But when I went home for just a random weekend, I actually got a drink with him. I haven't seen him in 10 years, and I'm so over that. And like, we were such children, and to be honest, he probably would never apologize. Even to this day, he'll probably, like, every time it's even come up in conversation, he's just been like, well, you broke my heart. And I'm like, all right, he's a pathological liar and a sociopath, because literally you've got to be on crack to think that I broke your heart. totally. But I also just thought it would be really entertaining to get a drink with him and like see what the heck his life is now, and like, I don't know. So I did that and I thought it was pretty funny. But there we go. There's my story. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe not. I don't know. It was kind of boring, but I finally told it. So there you go. I'll see you guys in my next video. Subscribe to my new vlog channel if this happens to get views. Please subscribe because this is a brand new vlog channel. So would love your support. Okay, love you guys so much. Bye.